moving, y'all. So chapter 1, it says, so all who were numbered of the children of Israel by their fathers' houses from 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war in Israel, all who were numbered were how much? 600. Yes, sir. So we had over 600,000 people. These were 20 and above who are war ready amongst the count. So if you add women and children and people who are 19 and down, this was easily millions of people in the wilderness. Man,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So, and that's what we got into last week. This is something that I believe is looked over a lot. You ever notice all throughout the Torah, Tanakh, and the Brit Hadashah, the Most High constantly repeats, I am Yahuwah who brought you out of Egypt. Brought you out of Egypt. I brought the children of Israel out of Egypt. You see that repeated several times. And at least what I feel one reason why, I'm sure there's many reasons why, but one factor is that it was a huge miracle. We know it was a miracle, but I don't think we know how much of a miracle it took to bring that many people out of Egypt in one day. So let's kind of look at the logistics real quick of the Exodus.
I thought about this actually.
You did? Because people will come at you.
It's the multiplication, basically. You know?
So number one, how did that many people come out of 70 people in a few hundred years? You have these are millions of people. These are about 2 to 3 million you can estimate. They started out with 70 people, and in a few hundred years, you got 3 million people. How did that happen? So I was just giving you a quick example. This is on the Guinness Book of World Records. It's on their website. It says in polygamous countries, the number of people of a person's descendants can become incalculable. Did we come out of a polygamous family, being from Jacob? Jacob was a polygamous family. Yeah. So this is someone who was in a polygamous family. At the time of his death, in 1992, Samuel Mast, age 96, of Pennsylvania, had how many living descendants?
824.
At 96 years old. The roll call comprised 11 children. He had 11 children. How many children did Jacob have?
12.
Yeah, more than that. He got 12. He had 11 children, 97 grandchildren, 634 great-grandchildren, and 82 great-great-grandchildren. That's crazy, huh? And that's only in, that's 2 generations? 3 generations, yeah. The last Sharifian empire of Morocco, Moulay Ismail, known as the Bloodthirsty, was reputed to have fathered a total of 525 sons and 342 daughters by 1703 and achieved a 700th son in 1721. So that was just another example. So it's doable. Now, this is another factor, though. So we know, now the Bible said that we were having a whole bunch of children, so much that the Egyptians were getting scared. They were worried. They started trying to kill the kids. So you know we were having a whole bunch of children. That's why there were so many Israelites. The Most High wanted it like that. Now, on top of that, we had the mixed multitude of Egyptians who came with us. When we think mixed multitude, we think, probably a few came. Nah, I bet it was thousands. Thousands. Y'all gotta keep in mind that the Most High showed himself in a major way through those plagues. And it was probably thousands in the mixed multitude that came with Israel. So if somebody ever asked you that, because you'll get skeptics and people who don't believe the Bible will come at you like that. Man, it's easy to explain. All right, but this is another one. So how did millions cross the Red Sea in one day? In one night, really. Because all those people crossed the Red Sea in one night. So I'm going to just read this real quick. While the armies of Pharaoh were encompassed by the dark of the night, the pillar of fire was guiding millions of Israelites, a mixed multitude, and millions of animals over the dried bed of the Red Sea. This was an enormous undertaking. One scholar estimated the throng numbered 2.5 million when it was likely closer to 3 million. mathematically, figured that marching 10 abreast, that means 10, side by side, the numbers would have formed a line of 150 miles long to cross the Red Sea. If it was 10 people side by side trying to cross the Red Sea. That would have required 8 or 9 days to march by any fixed point. Obviously, since they crossed the Red Sea in a single night, the Israelites were lined up in numbers much greater than 10 abreast. Probably more like hundreds or thousands abreast. That making sense to y'all?
They had a little head start too. So by the time Pharaoh started crossing,
Yeah.
they were at least like 3/4 of the way over.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I would love to have seen that.
Yeah. The way that's went down, when you think more and more about it, man, it was a major miracle.
Yeah.
Major.
And that reminds me, like because people when they want to debate you about who the slaves are, and all that, and it's like, okay, he says ships. So, okay, yeah, you might have some examples where maybe a couple hundred slaves went in a little boat across the, But do you think he's going to talk about those little bitty boats that nobody really knows about, or the huge ships that everyone saw these people being led onto,
Right.
and formed a triangle for 100 years?
Man.
I mean, he's going to. You're going to know exactly what he's talking about. There's not going to be any question about it. Okay, that's it.
Yep.
You're
Exactly. You don't know what he's talking about.
What's his name? The historian Josephus.
Yeah, how you talking
They try
about?
to say that he was saying that they kind of went to Egypt and kind of went into slavery there and all that, but he didn't live
Right.
until they went into slavery. He'd already died. So if he would have saw that, he'd be like, oh, there it is right there.
And also with Josephus, he was only referring to Judah.
Yeah.
The northern. See, Deuteronomy 28 was referring to everybody.
Yeah.
That was all 12 tribes. So you would have to establish everybody going through these things, not just Judah during a specific time.
Exactly.
You would expect you would literally expect millions of people to have to go through this thing, really, when you look at the context of Deuteronomy 28. So when keeping all those things in mind, Josephus didn't really fit.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's a great point. But the transatlantic slave trade fits. How many people? You know what I'm saying? Millions of people.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it was the biggest. There's nothing have been like that ever in the world yet. The biggest mass migration ever in existence.
Yeah.
So you really think something like that happened and it wasn't going to be covered in the scriptures?
Exactly. It turns the world around.
Yeah, and what it does is it solidifies how true the scriptures is.
Exactly.
So that's why I don't understand why people are fighting that. It shows you how solid the scriptures are, how valid it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'll just point a couple of verses out here. As I've led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes have not worn out on you, and your sandals have not worn out on your feet. Yahuwah your Elohim has blessed you in all the work of your hand. He knows you're trudging through this great wilderness. These 40 years, Yahuwah your Elohim has been with you. You have lacked nothing. So this is stuff we read through, and we don't really. At least I'm just saying, generally speaking. Maybe y'all thought about it, but I would just read through this and just be like, great, yeah, the Most High. But man, that was a great miracle to be able to do that for 40 years for millions of people in the wilderness. That's why it's repeated so much. And I only showed a couple of verses.
It's almost like y'all was like, look,
Yeah.
40 years, I brought y'all out. Oh, get it together.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it because Israel was the bride.
Yeah.
So it's like someone pleaded to their bride, like, look all that I do. I love you. Look what all I have done. You know what I mean? Verse 35, Exodus 16. And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. All right, so now we're going to look at another aspect. Because the crossing of the Red Sea it was more to it. The daily needs of Israel in the wilderness. The 40-year wilderness wandering by Moshe and the Israelites must be one of the biggest miracles in the Bible. See, we don't look at it as one of the biggest miracles in the scriptures, but it really is. Yeah, we take it for granted. Think about the metrics of the dire situation for food. The Most High's people had to be fed daily. 3 to 3.5 million people and large flocks and herds of animals will require a lot of food. According to the quartermaster general in the army, it is reported that Moshe would have to have 1,500 tons of food every day. It would take 2 freight trains, each a mile long, to feed that many people every day. So the cooking, I was getting into the firewood. I'm going to skip that. But the water, that was a big one, water. A person's water requirements would have been 19 liters, 20 quarts approximately per day, in 43 degrees centigrade or 108 degree Fahrenheit weather. In that region, that's pretty much the norm.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is thought that the Israelites would have needed up to 11 million gallons of water every day. Not total for the 40 years. 11 million gallons of water every day. Just to drink, wash themselves, and clean dishes, etc. This would be equivalent of a freight train of tank cars, 1,800 miles long, just to bring water. They had no lakes and only a few wells. How did they get that much water in the land where water was so scarce? The Most High provided it, right? Through the rock. Yeah. But remember the first 3 days they went without water. Remember they started grumbling when they were in the wilderness. 108 degree weather, y'all. You can kind of see, why. Hope we never do that,
Well, it's like I know I do. I'm reading through it and I'm like, man, what y'all just shut up?
Yeah.
But man, 108 degree weather,
It's like, man, y'all brought us all out here just to die,
They thought it was a trick. They were like, oh man. I probably for sure said, Moses, nah, can we get some water?
That's how they was, man. Man. And then let's look at the space. This is going back to the Red Sea again. I like this one because it gets more into a little bit more specifics. The children of Israel crossed the Red Sea in just one night. If they went on a narrow part, double file, the line would be 800 miles long. That's if they were double file. And it would have took 35 days and nights to get through. So there had to be a space in the Red Sea 3 miles wide. And they were about roughly 5,000 wide in order to cross in one night. So y'all, hopefully I'll bring a little bit of a different perspective to what really went down.
Yeah.
Because it's really powerful.
I like the fact that when he does a new thing, he says that how everybody talks about the Exodus. Nobody's even going to talk about the Exodus anymore.
Man.
It's going to be so big.
Yeah, that's Jeremiah 23.
Yeah.
That second Exodus. So think about the second Exodus, since you brought that up. How many millions of people is it going to be this time compared to last time? Last time it was about 3 million people. This time it's going to be hundreds of millions. Hundreds of millions of people, man. And keep in mind the mixed multitude. It's going to be mixed multitude.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be Israel. It's going to be hundreds of millions in Israel. And it's probably going to be another million mixed multitude to add on top of that.
Supposedly it's supposed to be more strangers than Israel. Wow. In the second Exodus, yeah.
Woo!
2/3 of us going to die.
Yeah, that's deep, man. So, did y'all remember when there were a lot of hurricanes maybe about 2 years ago? And on Florida, I can't remember what city in Florida, but it was several areas. It was even in the islands, I believe the Bahamas. The ocean just went dry. The ocean went dry. Man, I should have posted a video on that.
On September 10th, after Hurricane Irma, this guy posted a video of his dock, like on the back of his house in the Bahamas, and the ocean was literally gone. As you can see, this is how it would look before, and then this was after, like no water as far as they could see. There was just conch shells everywhere. There was a lot of debris, and they were walking around like far out where the ocean normally would be, and they would normally be several feet underwater. I mean, to me, this is just insane. I've never seen anything like this. I've never heard of anything like this. I don't know. Apparently, it is a rare phenomenon, but it has happened. I personally don't know of any other times I've seen this. You know, there was a little bit of coverage about the guy's video, but other than that, I found it really strange that there was no like helicopter view or airplane view, like an aerial view of the island and how the water was gone and how far it was gone, because some people were walking out like very, very, very far, and they ended up turning around and coming back because they were fearful that the water might come rushing back. And, you know, they were kind of far out. But as you can see here, there's a little piece of land out there, and you can see where it would be when there's water, and then you can see where there was no water. And even from that piece of land, from what I read, the water was just gone in such a long range they couldn't even tell where it was. The water was just gone in such a long range they couldn't even tell where it was.
For Floridians used to living along the coast, Irma provided an unusual sight Sunday, a dry shoreline.
I've never seen it empty like this before, but I've seen it flooded plenty of times. But I've never seen nothing like this.
Waterways receded as the storm picked up steam. The force of the approaching hurricane is so strong that despite all this ocean spray, it's actually sucked a lot of the water out of Sarasota Bay. It was a similar picture across the region, thanks to a mix of Irma's fierce counterclockwise winds and low atmospheric pressure.
I've never seen the grass. I've never seen any of that before. I just was surprised.
The tide was so low, 2 manatees became stranded in the sludge and had to be rescued. And in Tampa Bay, authorities warned about the dangers of venturing out onto the seafloor, since the water could return at any moment. Already past high tide, and the water appears to be receding. The storm surge may be over, and the worst of this storm is now behind us. Carter Evans, CBS News, Sarasota, Florida.
Rico? I can't remember. Not Puerto Rico. I think it was like Bahamas or something.
Yeah, it was the Bahamas.
Yeah. Y'all seen that? The winds were so strong in the hurricane that it dried out the ocean for miles, as far as the eyes can see.
That's insane. Wow.
It shows you though. It shows you that how the Exodus probably happened.
Yeah.
Because the Bible and the Exodus story said it was the Most High through a strong wind that caused the sea to split. And when we think about the sea splitting, and I know we're probably, because of Sunday school and because of the cartoons, that you think the sea split probably like that. You know, you see one side and see, and everybody, nah. When the ocean dried up in Florida and the Bahamas, it was dry as far as the eyes could see. You couldn't see the ocean no more. You try to look, you could, maybe way down. So that I submit that's probably what happened. In order for them to be 5,000, in order for them to be 5,000 wide to cross in one night, it was probably, they probably couldn't even see the water, y'all. It was probably split. But what was deep was there when I really wish I would have posted an article on this. But look it up if you're interested in it. Look it up. There were a lot of people playing on the dry land, and kids playing, and they had to come and warn them and get them to not do that.
Coming back, yeah.
Because they were saying scientifically, it can come back quick. It can come back. Don't do that. Don't be, because people were way out there playing.
Right.
Like, no, don't do that.
You weren't gonna make it back.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, like, dang, that's what the Most High did. Like, yeah, look it up, yeah. So my point
they
is,
didn't really put that out on the news.
yeah, it was on the news. It wasn't a whole lot,
That should have been like big.
Yeah. Because now it puts things in a perspective why the Egyptian whole military was able to cross. If it was just this and that like this, it's like, nah. But if it's wide, so wide that you can't even see the water, you can see why the Egyptians probably thought it was all good, went out there, just like the people were playing out there.
Wasn't there an ocean right here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,